Growing up, was there a defining moment for you when you were purely and simply taken by the drums? A defining moment when the drums really captured your imagination?
Yeah, when I was about 7, I started with piano and drums, but I got old boys around that age.
Yeah.
The drums seemed more exciting, but I never gave up the piano. It's just that I didn't take it out as a first instrument. When I went to Berkeley in Boston, I had to go back to the piano anyway for when in the study of arranging. Because I had to study arranging for a small group to big band jazz.
Yep.
And well, you can't do it at the keyboard because the keyboard has got every instrument there is on it. It's ranged somewhere located on the 88 keys.
Yep.
Yeah. So I went back to it anyway because I came back to Australia from Berkeley, did my Arrangers Guild exam and got my stamp for that, and which was great fun. The exam was really easy compared to all the stuff we had to do over there, but that's America. And like the Berklee College of Music in Boston is so they're so thorough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the music down to the art of every melody note means something, or they have a term for it. Yeah, which is fabulous.
It was a real turning point in your journey as a musician that time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, because something told me to write a book when I was 13. Because I was playing professional gigs when I was 11, because I could read music.
Yep.
And when the singers came into Brisbane, like Dick Richards and all the Patsy Ann Noble and all that sort of people from the 50s and very, very early 60s, when they came into Brisbane, they could never get a drummer who could read, so my dad put me in the musicians union, and that way I was allowed to play in licensed premises, without them getting into trouble from being in the union.
Yep.
Right now we're going to get terribly technical with you because this is a music.
Who were some of the first drummers you looked up to?
First drummers, probably Joe Morello with Dave Brubeck.
Yep.
He was, because I saw Dave Brubeck when he came. I was about maybe 12, and I saw Louis Armstrong too. But that was only because of the lady that was teaching me piano. Took me to the concerts because you weren't allowed to go. That was a festival hall, which is gone now, unfortunately, in Brisbane.
Yep.
And I don't know how many festivals halls there are left.
Ours is still here.
I know. Yeah, because we were supposed to do the Stevie Rock.
Oh, that's right, you were too, yeah.
Yeah, it got changed from the 27th of March to the 21st of April.
Yeah, now it's not happening at all.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Stevie's sick, but I still think they could have done the show.
Yeah.
Now, as Phil put it a good way, because we've been playing all weekend down there in Sydney.
Yep.
Phil put it a good way. He said, well, even if Stevie comes out in his pajamas, in a wheelchair, well, it's not going to make that much difference, because, with the bands that were on, we could have covered all the material anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
But unfortunately, and the promoters just canned it, But it's a real shame because it also put everyone out. Everyone had changed their work schedules to fit that, and in the business these days, you got to book months ahead on gigs.
Yeah, you got this big gaping hole in your schedule.
Yeah, well, it's a few days there,
Yeah.
But we were going to Perth anyway, straight after the Stevie Wright concert. The second one in Sydney. We were flying from Sydney to Perth, and we're going to spend 5 days on writing the material for a new Chain LP, which we're all quite excited about. We're all looking forward to immensely. But we want to do another LP in the concept of the way we did Toward the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And that is no preconceived ideas. And music works that way the best, as far as composition goes.
Yeah.
So you haven't got somebody who's adamant about one particular style of that they want to do, one particular sort of song, and everyone just goes in and you put the tape recorders on and you just play. And well, that's the way that Chain wrote Toward the Blues. It was from playing on stage. So and the songs just developed from gig to gig. I don't know if you're familiar with Blow and D, the Chain Boogie that's on.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was all written on stage. It just developed as it went. All those songs did. They start with a basic idea, a riff or whatever, and then Matt would add the words at the gig, and everything was just completely natural. And that ended up. I think that's why that LP has been so long lasting.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nothing on it that was thought up before it was actually recorded.
Do you remember having that feeling at the time when you recorded Towards the Blues that it would be an album that would stand up after, 30 years now?
No idea. No, we just had a ball. Recording it.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things about that recording was John Sayers. He was the producer, engineer, and he said, "Oh, okay, boys. Like we arrived, say 9 or 10 in the morning to record, and he'd say, all right, now you got such and such to such and such to record today." And Matt stuck something in his mouth. And we were there for 3 weeks. and we just kept going until we got it down. And we had a warm-up. This is the funniest thing, because on the new Toward the Blues, there's a song called Booze is Bad News Blues.
Yep.
That was just a warm-up. And I didn't even know that we were recording. And 2 or 3 days after that warm-up, John Sayers called me into the booth and said, "I guess, come and have a listen to this, see what you think." And I listened to this slow blues, and it was Bruce's Bad Blues, and I went, "Wow, man, that's unbelievable. Who's that?" And he said, "It's you." "Oh," I said, he said, "That's the first thing you played when you got to the studio." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know you were recording it." I heard something like rolling at the start.
Yeah.
And on the new digital, the 24-bit one, you can hear right at the start where Phil starts with the guitar. You can hear the words rolling.
Yep.
And I went, I didn't take any notice because we were just sort of concentrating on the music.
I believe you guys were on the road when Black and Blue started gathering momentum as a hit single, and you weren't even aware that it was happening.
No. We recorded Black and Blue in Sydney on the way to Melbourne. When the first chain broke up, when Pig left, he joined the Aztecs. Myself, Barry Sullivan, and Phil Manning, we came out to Brisbane to try and sort out what we were going to do, because Pig was a big part of the band of the first chain, and so we got a resident gig, and we worked as a trio at the Red Orb, which Goose and I worked at before we went to Melbourne with Thursday's Children. And then one night, Phil said, "Oh man, I'm getting sick of playing guitar and singing. Let's get a singer." And so we all threw it around and then said, "Wait, what about Matt Taylor?" Because he was from Brisbane and he was a good mate, plus he was a fabulous blues singer. So we gave Matt a ring, and he flew up in the next couple of days. And we went into rehearsals at the Red Orb when we were playing there. And one night, Phil or Goose started the riff of Black and Blue, and we said, let's get a vamp going. So we used the floor tom, so to get that boom at the start. And then Matt came in and threw those fabulous lyrics. So it was just written on the spot. It was recorded the same week that Big Goose's first son was born.
All right.
Yeah, because we'd just been in the hospital and at the Royal General Hospital in Brisbane and to see Goose's wife, and she just had a baby, and we went on to rehearsal, and we wrote Black and Blue.
Wow.
It was a pretty inspirational time.
Yeah.
And we got to Sydney, so we had that and Lightning Ground ready to record, and a few other things that we were toying around with. And we got to Sydney and we went into the studios at Festival at Piedmont then, when it was before all those overpasses and underpasses were there, when they just had a bridge going across the water. We're there on the weekend, and it's like being in some Space Age movie, going around those roads. And we recorded Black and Blue and Lightning Ground. And Festival said, okay, cool. Right, we'll put that as a single. And then we had to go to Melbourne. Because Michael Gudinski had just rang us and said that he wanted to manage the band. And he was only 18. And we said, oh, sure, man, why not, yeah? But can you get us some gigs? Yeah, sure. And we got, anyway, we were supposed to drive from Sydney, after recording, drive from Sydney to Melbourne. But we got waylaid in King's Cross, Wilson Girls. And on the way down, we stopped on a mountain range and stayed there for a couple of nights. And it took us about a week to get to Melbourne from Sydney.
Yeah.
And when we got there, we went to Michael Gudinski's office, and he came out with a worksheet. And the worksheet went for 6 months. Like, just about every night of the week. And we said, hey, Michael, you know, yeah, well, we wanted to get some gigs, but this is ridiculous, man. There's no nights off for 6 months. And he said, yeah, well, you know, where the record is, don't you? And we said, no. What record? He said, Black and Blue is number 5 on the Melbourne charts. So you guys get out there and play, and it'll go to number 1. Which it did in about a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Hard Grinds on the Road? I believe you spent a year with Kevin Borich, which included 365 shows in a year.
Yeah.
That must have been unbelievable.
Yeah, well, when we did the last tracks on the History of Change, which were Feelings, Forever, and those things, those instrumentals with the band, with the tenor sax and the keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
It was more jazzy.
Yep.
The band sort of split. I did Sunbury 73, and then decided to go back to Queensland.
Yeah.
And then I was in Queensland for a bit, and I got a call to do a gig in Sydney because I got bored, and I ended up doing a gig with Harry Bruce in Darlinghurst. It was a resident gig, and Big Goose joined up. He was doing the session at Armstrong's, I think, in Melbourne at the time, and they had a girl singer coming in. Goose told me this, like, just last year, which he never told me before. He said, oh, some chick called Renee Gayer is we got to do a session for her. That was him and Mo Logan, the piano player, and she came in and she wanted to do It's a Man's World, and she had some sort of charts and that, and you know, Goose never liked reading because Goose was Goose. You know, he played the bass he wanted it the way he wanted to, and he said to her, "Oh, can you just sing a bit of it first?" And she started singing, and Goose said that his hands froze. She was that good.
Yeah.
His hands froze, and he couldn't play a note. He couldn't even touch the string. and immediately Mal and Barry asked Renee to start a band, and that band was called Sanctuary. but I've been working with two chick singers in Sydney with Harry. Wendy Saddington and a black lady who was doing a show out here, an American lady. And then Kevin Boyce came in to the gig one night and said, "Oh, look, I'm looking for a bass player and drummer to go on the road to tour." And he said, "You guys want to come and have a play? We'll see what it sounds like." So Harry and I went and had a play with Kevin, and Kevin said, "Cool, well, let's go." But it was like that in those days. It was, don't worry about anything, just let's go.
Yeah.
Just go and play. Yeah? And we spent that year on the road non-stop. We stayed at Tim Parsons' place in Sydney. He was one of the best bass players I've ever played with. He was in the band Goose left that he was in called Flight, which had Leo DiCastro in it.
Yes. Yeah.
And of all people who I have to call, who left a message in Sydney for me to ring him, Rob McKenzie, who's in Melbourne at the moment.
I believe, yes.
Well, yeah, because Rob always wanted me to play in Mackenzie's series.
Yep.
But I was too tied up with the other things. But we had Rob McKenzie in this band that Tim Partridge that I put together with Jeremy Kellogg from Daddy Cool, because he was into Albert Ayler and John Coltrane, and just like I was. And, that was a pretty crazy band. We played some crazy music. And that lasted for quite a while. But then the Goose's band with Renee started off, it was called Sanctuary. And I heard them up on the Gold Coast. Because Goose went to playing with Renee, and I thought, well, I can't handle these chick singers much longer, because they were starting to become a pain. Because we were doing a resident gig. We were playing six nights a week, and the girl said, "We've had enough of this. We're sick of it." Because it was about 9 till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And the girls pulled out, so we got another singer. And then it sort of, a lot of interest went out of the band.
Yeah.
That band was called Shango. It did a few GDKs, which I'd love to see, because it was a fabulous band.
If they're still around, I think the ABC's destroyed a lot of that stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just want to get back to your book before I let you go. When you set out to do it, how did you want the book to differ from other instructional books?
Well, some sort of spirit told me when I was 13 that I had to write a book for primarily for drummers on phrasing concepts. And it took me 30 years to be able to have the patience to sit down and write and do that.
Yeah.
But it was only because I went to Berkeley that in Boston that I developed the patience for writing with all the arranging and all the parts had to write for the arrangements and because you had to write for the whole band, you had to write for the trumpets, you had to write for the saxophones, etc.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I got what I wanted from Boston, and I came back to Australia, and I said, I've got to write that book. So how I started. That was in 1982.
Yeah.
And it took it was only going to be a 50-page book. But once you start writing, you start seeing other things that you didn't know existed. Yeah, you start discovering things.
Yeah.
In the notes themselves.
Yeah.
And the book just started to expand. And it ended up being 244 pages. It took 9 years to write it, but 3 years to proofread it.
Oh. Any thoughts of doing a video version of the book, or a video companion to the book, or a DVD companion?
I might do that, yeah. I might do that. I've been doing a lot of clinics at festivals.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. I taught in the private school system for 20 years here in Brisbane, but the politics in the private schools got a bit much.
Yeah. Oh.
It started driving me nuts because really, the stuff that the music departments were doing was also square.
Yeah.
And like the stuff I was teaching the kids, the kids in year 12 and that was like pretty hard stuff. But they had the brains for it. They were like winners of Australian mathematics competitions and stuff like that. And they loved all the polyrhythm material.
Yeah.
Because it was a challenge. And they didn't want to do anything else because they knew they were into something that had some depth. But anyway, a lot of disagreements, and I just left the schools.
Yeah.
And but it's incredible. The drummer from Spectrum, he got one of my books, and he got a teaching gig, and he used my book for teaching out of. I've got a guy in Brisbane who I've been teaching for 25 years who teaches full on like I used to. And they're all using my book, and it's used in Boston as a reference book for writing, and also in a lot of Australian schools as a reference book for the teachers. If they get in trouble with some form of writing, they consult the book.
Yep.
So it's sort of like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great achievement. Something you should be proud of.
Oh yeah, it was the most exciting thing I ever did. Apart from, well, I devoted a long time to that. Like 12 years and 20 years at those schools. Well, I teach privately, but I'm playing with 7 bands, and I'd sooner just play now. I've got the material from the book. We played at Bim Badger yesterday for Easter.
Yep. And
the lineup was unbelievable. The last 3 bands that were on, the third last one was Ian Moss's band, who went overtime on purpose to try and cut it into our bracket. Then Shane, and then Kevin Burridge.
Wow.
And man, it was on. It was on because and we had a guest on the way up to Bim Badger from Sydney. We rang Pig, Warren Morgan, who was in the first chain.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing anything. He said, "Hey man, I can't come down and have a play." So we had Warren Morgan as well, and the band sounded incredible.
It was a great day.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, Barry, I've got to let you go. I'm just about out of studio time. What's coming up for you this year?
Yeah, we're going to Perth to write the stuff for an LP, and then we're doing a tour of Perth. We've got the Gympie Muster coming up. We've got Darwin, and we're going to try and do a tour around from Darwin down to Gympie.
Yep.
Probably Cairns, Yeppoon, Gladstone, just the major towns, Mackay.
Yeah.
And try and work it into the Gympie muster.
Are you still playing with the hip shooters up there? I've heard some great reports about them.
No, I had to leave them because they finally worked up the courage to do a tour of Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah.
But it was on at exactly the same time as the chain tour I had.
Oh, right.
And, well, when you've been playing in one band for that long, you don't say no to chain,
No, surely not. No.
Besides, I think, I really believe since Goose's passing, since Goose has left, the chain is just starting again.
Yeah.
The whole thing's just starting again, and it's really exciting.
You seem to be going for a quality of gig now too with chain, and not so much quantity of gig.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is great. Well, again, thanks a lot for your time this morning, Barry. It's been great to catch up with you.
Oh, it's all right. Thanks for the opportunity to have a race here. The whole band the enthusiasm is amazing. Like Phil's just, I can't wait to record the next record, man. All that. We haven't heard that for a while.
It's great to hear. Looks like the band will live on forever.
I think so.
Yeah. Good on you, Barry. Thanks a lot.
John.
Cheers, mate.